This episode of the Lunch with Chris show is brought to you by my upcoming book, 30 Days to Limitless. You can find out more about it at limitless30.com.
This podcast is certified fresh. Freshmediaworks.com.
Welcome to Lunch with Chris. We're your host, Chris Daly, brings you uplifting interviews with extraordinary individuals making a positive impact. Join as he introduces remarkable people who have left their mark on their respective fields.
Have you ever thought about doing your own podcast? It is the absolute best way to grow your brand, spread your message, and build your following. Fresh Media Works can help. We do all the heavy lifting, and you just focus on your message. To find out how easy we can make launching your new podcast, call 713-269-4620 or check us out at freshmediaworks.com.
My next guest is a caregiver. Not just any caregiver. She does it professionally. She specializes in palliative care. This is Kristi Edmundson. Everybody join me in welcoming Kristi Edmundson to the show. Kristi, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. I'm having a pretty good day.
Oh, good. I had reached out because my mother is going through some dementia, some forgetfulness, things like that. And I thought, these people are superheroes. So I wanted to find somebody who was a care provider, and your name came up. Can you tell me how long have you been doing this?
Professionally, I've been doing this for 18 years.
Wow.
But I've been caregiving since I was 9 years old.
Really?
Yeah.
See, that doesn't seem like something the average person would do.
No. So I had a rocky childhood, and we lived with this lady who was, she couldn't use her legs, she couldn't walk or anything like that, and so she lived with her son. And so my parents were into like drugs and things like that, so they would leave us there in the household with this lady. And she wasn't getting, her name was Miss Martin, and she wasn't getting the care that she needed. And so I started cooking her breakfast and getting her out of bed. And then I would give her showers. And so I'd help her to the restroom at night because she had a bedside commode, because her son would just be missing in action. And so just being 9 years old, I just knew that she needed help, and there was nobody else there to help her. So that was just my calling. At the time, I just thought that was just, I'm just helping her out. But it's just, I've been doing it ever since.
Wow. And so, talk about growing up quick. And would you think that's something that is innate in you, or that it's in all of us, and you just had the opportunity to help earlier than most?
No, I think it's built into us. Not everyone's made to be a caregiver, and that's okay. But the ones that are, I believe that we're led to do that from a higher being.
Right. And then how did you get into it professionally?
So I lived in a small town in Alabama, and there was a nursing home there, and they hired you without any experience, and I needed health insurance. I worked at a gas station first, and he didn't offer any benefits or anything. And so I had a child, and so I went over to the nursing home and started working there as a unit support person, where you just made beds and then picked up dishes. And then I did a 2-week CNA class, and then I got my certification. And I worked there for 7 years, went to school to become a teacher, did my internship, and decided that that's not what I wanted to do. And so I went back to the nursing home, and I worked there until 2016 when I moved here to Austin.
And in your experience, I'm sure you've run across other caregivers. Have you seen how this burns people out, how much work it is?
Oh, of course, yes. And you've got to have balance. And if you're working with, I do private care as well as facility work. And so as private care, you really need support from the family members that you're working with. And you have to take time for yourself, because if you don't, then you will get burnt out.
And what would you say is some of the biggest surprises you came across when you started doing this full time?
The biggest surprise is the emotional attachment, I would think. Getting attached to the client, to the family. I think that would be my biggest surprise there. Right.
And I assume, you've mentioned the family now a couple of times, that seems to be a very important piece of it. And I guess, what have you seen from families? Have they been mostly supportive? Have you run into people who, I just can't deal with this? What has your experience been?
It's kind of a 75-25, and it just depends. It depends on finances of the client. Really, sometimes if they have the extra finances, then the family, they're able to hire caregivers, or they're able to put them in a facility so that they can come and visit with them. And then the ones who maybe not are so financially stable, they have to work, so they're not able to take that time to spend with the family member. And so that really, that's kind of helps with the involvement of the family. And then it also depends on how the parents treated their children or how they raised their children.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I definitely could see that. And this is just my experience. You tell me if I'm crazy or if it makes sense. When visiting my mom and spending time with her, I have found that 99% of it is just being happy and not getting upset when she repeats the same story 15 times in a row, or maybe doesn't want to do something you want her to do right then. Have you seen that attitude controls most of it?
Absolutely. I think that once they get to a certain point, there is no correcting them. And then I don't think that you should. I think that you should just enjoy your visit there and make the best of it. And then if she asks you the same question, it's 4 times. Just act like that was the very first time that she had ever asked you that, and just answer it and move on. And redirection is another good one. If they're agitated, or if they are wanting to go somewhere, and let's just say they want to go home, but they're at their home, you just say, okay, well, we'll go in a bit. Let's finish doing this. Or, just find something to distract them to keep them from getting upset, because the most important thing is they're on their latter days. And so to keep them as happy as they can be, even though we don't agree with it, or we know that it's not true, it's important just to go along with it so that they don't get upset. Right. That makes sense. And when you're doing these calls, I imagine there are all kinds of different situations of tasks that you're asked to perform. Give us the kind of range of that. So for me personally, I do a little bit of everything, from companion sitting for someone who can actually do everything for themselves. They're just lonely. And with that would be some light housekeeping, laundry, taking them out shopping, taking them to dinner. And then I do the more total care to where I need toileting, or I need all their meals provided for them, feeding them. If they're bedbound, I do that as well. I do a lot of hospice work. So with me personally, as a personal caregiver, I stay with them once they are on their last days. I stay with them 24/7 until they pass. That's just something that I offer families,
right.
just so that they can do their grieving and everything, and they're not, having to worry about medication administration and things like that. So that's something that I do offer when I do hospice care.
Nice. And you had mentioned earlier that a lot of how people deal with things depends on their financial situation, the funds they have available. What is out there in terms of funding and organizations that can help people that may have issues like that?
Austin has a Meals on Wheels program, which is really good. It's volunteers, and so if your loved one still lives at home and needs help with meals, then they can drop the meals off. I don't know 100% about how that program works. I just know that it's there. And then there are some churches that offer like a senior day, like once a week, to where you can drop your loved one off for a little while so that you can run some errands, and they have different activities and things for them to do. Senior centers offer something similar to that. But the resources for that is very slim, because you have to, if you need help, your insurance will have to cover it, or, something like that. And sometimes they don't have that kind of insurance, and then they can't afford private care.
I got you. And do you know if Medicare covers anything like that?
Medicare covers some, but there's so much red tape around it. I had a client who needed 24-hour care, and they were trying to get Medicare to pay for it, but they wanted them to be a registered nurse, and a lot of the caregivers do not have, any certifications or anything. They just are caregivers. And so I wasn't able to help her because I'm only a certified nursing assistant and I'm not a registered nurse. And there is long-term, if you have like long-term insurance, then it'll cover agencies. And some of those insurance companies will cover agencies and not private caregivers. But the problem that right now that we're facing here in 2022 with the pandemic is the agencies are short-staffed.
Oh, yeah, I could see that. So back on happier news, what pleasant surprises or what positive experiences have you gotten out of this?
I would say, for me, just helping the family and the client is important. When I work in facility, the little ladies, I make sure that I get their hair, fix their hair, curl their hair, put their makeup on, do their nails. I may have to stay 30 minutes late, having to take out all my trash, but for me, the satisfaction of knowing that I'm making their day the best day that it can possibly be is what makes me happy.
Nice. And in your career, just ballpark, how many people do you think you've provided this type of service for?
Oh, in the 18 years, probably 60 or more.
Wow, that's got to be warm fuzzies to know that you've been helpful to that many people. That's why I wanted to reach out to someone like you, because that is a true everyday superhero. You're not just going to work to punch a clock and earn a paycheck. You're doing real good in your job.
Well, I just think that we're put here on earth for certain reasons, and we all have different callings, and I feel like God led me to be my calling, and I just want to do everything that I can to. It's a gift that I was given, and I don't want to waste that talent. That's why I just go in every day and try to make the best of any situation and make as many people happy as I can.
Amen. Amen. And if I hear from somebody who wants to get into this line of work, how would you, what advice would you give them?
I would start out, all of the assisted livings around here are super short-staffed, and it's very light workload. It's, you just go in and kind of help them get dressed and get their day started and help them to and from their meals. I would do that, or look for someone who's looking for a companion and start that. Meals on Wheels, again, they're volunteers. So if you're wanting to help out and help your community out, they're always needing volunteers. And they offer more than just the meal drop-off. They will, they have where they'll pick you up and take you to your doctor's appointment or your hair appointment. So those are all volunteers that do that. So to start off, just to see if it's something that you really want to do, I think volunteering somewhere would be a good start.
Amen. Amen. Kristi Edmundson, I want to thank you so much for being an everyday superhero, and I want to thank you for doing all the things you do and for being on the show with me.
Oh, well, it's been an absolute pleasure, and thank you for having me. And that's exactly when I'm thanked for all of my work. I just want everyone to know that it is a true pleasure that I'm able to be here to help anybody.
I love that.